You're watching Cold Blood Empire original story. The band was still burning when the forest went silent, not because she cried, not because she begged, but because something ancient had just noticed her. They called her wolfless, useless, a mistake that shouldn't exist. The Alpha King stripped her name, burned her mark, and cast her into the dark, unaware that what he rejected wasn't weak. It was sealed, and the moment she crossed the border, the seal began to crack, because the thing watching her from the trees wasn't a rogue. It wasn't a wolf. It was the Crimson Sovereign. And he wasn't hunting her. He was coming to claim what the pack was never meant to control. So here's the question. What happens when the girl you branded as nothing wakes up as something older than your laws? Before we go any further, pause with me for a moment. What would you do if your entire world rejected you for something you never chose? If this moment hits you, if Eloise's rejection stirred anger, sadness, or disbelief, please subscribe to Cold Blood Empire, tap the like button, and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Every interaction helps this story reach people who understand what it means to be cast aside. Now, let's continue, because the punishment is not finished, and neither is her story. Chapter 1. The protection, resources, and security afforded to pack members cannot extend to those who provide no strength in return. By the authority of this council and under the laws established by our forebears, I, Reese Wither, Alpha King of the Wither Pack, formally reject your bond to this pack. Eloise bit the inside of her cheek hard enough to taste copper. She would not cry. She would not beg. She had watched this moment play out in her mind 1,000 times over the past 3 years. Crying would change nothing. Begging would only make the humiliation worse. A woman near the back of the crowd, Demi Stevens, whispered something to the man beside her. Eloise heard the word embarrassment and the sharp sound of someone trying to suppress a laugh. Reese gestured toward Kian Prescott, the pack's second, who stood to the right of the council table. Kian was 28, lean and scarred from a border fight 2 summers ago. He stepped forward with a small iron brand already heated to red in a brazier beside the platform. Your pack mark will be removed, Reese said. Your name will be struck from the register. You will leave Ashford Lands by dawn. If you are found within our boundaries after sunrise tomorrow, you will be treated as a rogue trespasser. Eloise's stomach twisted. The brand would burn away the crescent moon mark on her left shoulder blade, the mark every wither wolf carried from birth. Losing it meant losing her identity. It meant becoming no one. Kian approached her slowly. He did not meet her eyes. They had grown up in the same training yard. He had taught her to throw a knife when she was 11. Now he would not even look at her face. Turn around, he said quietly. This will hurt less if you do not fight it. Eloise turned. She heard the rustle of movement behind her as Kian positioned the brand. She focused on the far wall, where a faded tapestry showed the first Wither Alpha, standing over a conquered enemy. She counted the stitches she could see from this distance. 43, 44. The iron touched her skin through the thin linen of her shirt. Pain flared hot and immediate across her shoulder blade. She locked her jaw and refused to make a sound. The smell of burning fabric and flesh rose sharp and bitter in the air. Kian held the brand steady for 3 long seconds before pulling it away. Eloise's knees trembled, but she stayed upright. Tears blurred her vision, but she blinked them back hard. She would not give them the satisfaction. It is done, Kian said. He returned to his place beside the council table without another word. Reese stood. The movement drew the attention of the entire hall. Eloise Rutland, you are no longer of this pack. You have until dawn to gather your belongings and leave. If you require assistance in preparing for travel, speak with the steward. That is all. He turned his back on her and began speaking in low tones with the council elder, Harvey Camden, a gray-haired man of 60 who had served 3 Alpha Kings in his lifetime. Eloise stood alone in the center of the hall. No one moved toward her. No one spoke. The crowd began to disperse slowly, conversations rising in whispers and murmurs that bounced off the stone walls like the hiss of steam. She forced her legs to move. 1 step, 2. She walked toward the rear entrance of the hall with her shoulders straight and her head up. The burn on her back throbbed with each movement, but she ignored it. Pain she could handle. Pity would break her. A young woman near the door, Molly Graham, stepped aside quickly as Eloise passed. Molly had been her closest friend until 2 years ago, when the gap between them became too obvious to ignore. Molly had shifted at 13 and joined the scout training program at 15. Now she stood with the other young warriors and would not meet Eloise's gaze. Eloise pushed through the heavy oak door and stepped out into the cold night air of the courtyard. The keep's outer walls rose 30 feet high on all sides, torches burning at regular intervals along the battlements. Guards stood watch at the gate and along the wall walk. None of them looked at her. She crossed the courtyard toward the low stone building that housed unmated women and children. Her small room waited on the second floor, barely large enough for a narrow bed, a wooden chest, and a single shelf. She climbed the stairs slowly, her legs shaking now that no one could see. Inside her room, she sat on the edge of the bed and finally let herself shake, not from tears, from fury, from the unfairness of a body that refused to obey, a bloodline that meant nothing, a future that had just been ripped away. Her mother had died when Eloise was 7. A fever had taken her in 3 days. Margaret Rutland had never spoken of Eloise's father. She had never explained why Eloise's scent carried something different from the other children, something the adults noticed but never named. Eloise stood and opened the wooden chest at the foot of her bed. Inside lay everything she owned: 3 wool dresses, 2 linen shirts, a pair of worn leather boots that had been her mother's, a gray cloak with a hood, and a small steel eating knife worth 2 silver coins. She also had a leather pouch containing 8 copper pennies, 1 silver half-mark, and a lock of her mother's hair tied with a faded blue ribbon. She packed quickly. The dresses went into a canvas sack along with the spare shirt and the knife. She pulled on the boots and fastened the cloak around her shoulders. The pouch went into the inner pocket she had sewn into the cloak lining last winter. The room held nothing else worth taking. No letters, no keepsakes, no trinkets. She had lived a sparse life even by pack standards. Eloise picked up the sack and left without looking back. The courtyard was quieter now. Most of the assembly had returned to their homes or the barracks. She walked toward the main gate where 2 guards stood watch. One of them was Benjamin Lee, a man of 40 who had served gate duty for 15 years. "Leaving already?" Benjamin asked. His tone held no mockery, only tired acknowledgement. "No reason to wait," Eloise said. Benjamin nodded slowly. He reached into his belt pouch and pulled out a small wrapped bundle. "Bread and dried meat," he said. "Enough for 3 days if you are careful. The road north leads to Thornhill. It is a free town, no pack territory. You might find work there." Eloise took the bundle. Her throat tightened, but she managed to speak. "Thank you." Benjamin pulled the gate open. The iron hinges groaned. Beyond the walls, the forest stretched dark and endless under a half moon. "Watch yourself out there," Benjamin said. "Rogues hunt the borders this time of year." Eloise stepped through the gate. The moment she crossed the threshold, she felt something shift inside her chest. Not painful, just a sudden absence, like a rope that had been pulling taut for years suddenly going slack. The pack bond was gone. She walked into the forest without looking back. "Hold on for just a moment. She's gone now. No pack, no protection. No one was watching her back. If this moment feels heavy, if you've ever had to walk away from something that once defined you, tap the like button so this story reaches others who understand loss and survival, and drop a comment if you believe Eloise should have been protected, not cast out. Now, Act 2 begins, and the wilderness will show her what the pack never did. Chapter 2. The boundary stone stood 20 paces beyond the gate, 3 rough granite markers carved with the Witherpack sigil. Eloise passed them and kept walking. The forest floor was thick with fallen leaves that crunched softly beneath her boots. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. She followed the north road, a narrow dirt path barely wide enough for a single cart. The road curved through dense stands of oak and ash. Moonlight filtered through the branches in thin silver streaks. Her shoulder blade still burned from the brand. The pain pulsed with each step, but she pushed it aside. Pain meant nothing now. Survival mattered. Food, shelter, distance from wither lands. She walked for 2 hours before stopping to rest beside a fallen log. The forest was quiet, except for the occasional rustle of small animals in the underbrush. No wolves. That was strange. Border wolves usually patrolled these woods. They should have tracked her by now, if only to ensure she kept moving away from pack territory. Eloise unwrapped Benjamin's bundle and ate a small piece of bread. The taste was plain, but her stomach welcomed. She had not eaten since midday, and the assembly had stretched into the evening. She rewrapped the food carefully and tucked it back into her sack. Her thoughts circled back to the same questions she had asked herself 1,000 times. Why had her body refused to shift? Her mother had been a Witherpack, born and raised. Her bloodline traced back 4 generations in the pack records. There was no human blood, no weakness, nothing in the records to explain this failure, unless the records were incomplete. Her mother had never spoken of Eloise's father. That alone was unusual. Pack wolves mated openly, recorded their bonds in the registry, raised children with both family lines acknowledged. Margaret Rutland had listed no mate, no bond, no father's name. The council had allowed it because Margaret had been a skilled healer, and her work had value, but silence meant secrets. Eloise stood and kept walking. The road stretched ahead through the trees. She had no destination. Thornhill might offer work, but free towns were dangerous for lone women without protection. She would need a coin. She would need connections. She had neither. By the time the sky began to lighten with the gray promise of dawn, she had covered perhaps 10 miles. Her legs ached, and her stomach complained. She found a shallow stream and drank deeply, the cold water sharp and clean. She refilled the small leather flask she carried and moved on. The forest began to change. The trees grew older here, thicker and more widely spaced. The underbrush thinned. This was old growth, the kind that existed before packs marked territories and built keeps. These woods belonged to no one. Eloise spotted a crumbling stone structure through the trees ahead. She approached carefully. The structure turned out to be an old watchtower, its walls half collapsed and its roof long gone. Moss covered the remaining stones. Vines twisted through the gaps. She circled the tower slowly. No recent tracks, no scent of animals or people. The interior was open to the sky, but 3 walls still stood, offering some shelter from wind. She set down her sack and gathered dry wood from the surrounding forest. She built a small fire using the flint and steel she carried in her pouch. The flames caught and grew, casting warm light across the tower's interior. Eloise ate more bread and a strip of dried meat. The food settled in her stomach and eased the hollow feeling that had been growing since she left the keep. She wrapped herself in her cloak and leaned against the least damaged wall. Sleep did not come easily. Every sound made her tense. Every rustle in the leaves could be a threat. But exhaustion finally pulled her under. She woke to the sound of footsteps. Her hand went to the knife at her belt. She stayed still, eyes barely open, watching through her lashes. A figure moved past the tower entrance. Male, tall. He wore dark clothing and moved with the easy confidence of someone who knew these woods well. The figure paused, turned, looked directly at her. Eloise sat up fast, knife already in her hand. The man raised both hands, palms out. He was perhaps 25, with light brown hair and a lean build. His clothing was well made, not the rough homespun of a peasant or the leather armor of a pack warrior. "Easy," he said. His voice was calm. "I am not here to hurt you." "Then why are you here?" Eloise kept the knife steady. "I am passing through," the man said. "This tower is a common waypoint for travelers. I did not expect to find it occupied." Eloise studied him. His scent was strange. Not a wolf, not entirely human either. Something in between. "You are far from packlands," the man continued. "Alone. That is dangerous. I can take care of myself." The man's mouth quivered in something that might have been a smile. "I am sure you can," he said. "But you have been bleeding for the past 12 hours, and you have not noticed." Eloise glanced down. The back of her cloak was stained dark near the shoulder. The brand must have torn open during the night's walk. She had been too numb to feel it. "I will survive," she said. "Perhaps," the man said. He lowered his hands slowly. "My name is Louis Sherwood. I am a messenger for the Northern Territories. I carry letters, not weapons. If you want a salve for that burn, I have some in my pack." Eloise hesitated. Trust was a luxury she could not afford, but infection would kill her slower and more painfully than a quick knife to the ribs. "Why would you help me?" she asked. Louis shrugged. "Because I can, and because I have seen too many people die from wounds that should have been easy to treat." He moved slowly toward his pack, which lay near the tower entrance. He pulled out a small clay jar and held it up so she could see. "Comfrey and honey," he said. "It will keep the wound clean and help it close faster." Eloise lowered the knife slightly, but did not sheath it. "Put it on the ground," she said. "Then step back." Louis did as she asked. He set the jar on the stone floor and backed away 3 paces. Eloise moved forward, picked up the jar, and retreated to her spot against the wall. She opened the lid and sniffed. The salve smelled clean, herbal, exactly as he had described. "Thank you," she said. Louis nodded. "You are a witherpack. Or you were. I can smell the burn where they removed your mark." Eloise's jaw tightened. "That is none of your concern." "Fair enough," Louis said. He picked up his pack. "The road north leads to Thornhill. It is a 3 days' walk if you keep a good pace. Stay off the main paths after dark. Rogues run in pairs this season." He turned to leave. "Wait," Eloise said. The word came out before she could stop it. Louis looked back. "What did you mean when you said my scent is different?" Eloise asked. Louis tilted his head slightly. "You do not smell fully wolf. You carry something else, something older." "I have no wolf," Eloise said. "That is why they cast me out?" "No," Louis said slowly. "You have no wolf yet. There is a difference." Before Eloise could respond, Louis disappeared into the trees. She sat alone in the ruined tower and stared at the jar of salve in her hands. Chapter 3. Eloise spent the next 2 days moving north through the forest. She avoided the main road as Louis had advised and kept to the game trails and stream beds. The wound on her back began to heal with the help of the salve. The pain faded to a dull ache that she could ignore. On the 3rd day, she reached a ravine that cut through the forest like a scar. The ravine was perhaps 30 feet wide and 50 feet deep, its sides steep and rocky. A fallen tree stretched across the gap, ancient and weathered but still solid enough to serve as a bridge. Eloise tested the log carefully before stepping onto it. The wood held. She moved slowly, one foot in front of the other, her arms spread for balance. Halfway across, her boot slipped on a patch of moss. She fell hard onto her hands and knees. The impact jarred through her bones. She clung to the log, her heart pounding. Below, the ravine floor was covered in jagged rocks and dead branches. She pulled herself upright and continued more carefully. 3 steps from the far side, the log shifted. Not much, just a slight groan of old wood settling. Eloise lunged forward. Her hands caught the edge of solid ground. She scrambled up and rolled away from the ravine just as the log tilted and fell, crashing down into the rocks below. She lay on her back, breathing hard. Her palms were scraped raw from catching herself on the rough bark. Blood welled up in thin lines across both hands. She sat up and examined the damage. The cuts were shallow, but they stung. She pulled out the clay jar and began to apply salve to her left hand first. The blood smelled wrong. Eloise froze. She lifted her palm closer to her face and inhaled carefully. The scent was not the thin, copper smell of human blood. It carried heat and weight, like iron heated in a forge. Her blood smelled the way the pack warriors smelled after a hard fight, when their wolves rode close to the surface. But she had no wolf. She looked at her right hand. The cuts were already closing, not quickly, not with the supernatural speed of a wolf, but faster than they should. By the time she finished treating her left hand, the wounds on her right had sealed into thin pink lines. Eloise wiped her hands clean on her cloak and stood. Her mind raced through possibilities. Wolves healed fast. Humans did not. She was supposed to be human, or at least wolfless enough to be cast out, yet her blood said otherwise. She remembered her mother's warnings, fragments of conversations she had only half understood as a child. Stay quiet. Do not draw attention. Do not let them see what you are. What was she? Eloise gathered her sack and moved away from the ravine. The forest pressed close on all sides. She found a cluster of thick bushes and crawled beneath them, creating a shelter just large enough to sit upright. Night fell fast in the deep woods. She did not risk a fire. Instead, she sat in the darkness and listened to the sounds of the forest. Owls called. Small animals rustled through dead leaves. Wind moved through the high branches. And something else moved beyond the bushes. Eloise went very still. She had learned to recognize the difference between animal movement and something larger, more purposeful. This was not a deer or a fox. This was something that walked on 2 legs or 4 with equal ease. A shadow passed between the trees, large, silent. It paused 30 feet from her hiding spot. Eloise's hand closed around her knife. She barely breathed. The shadow did not approach. It did not search. It simply stood there, motionless, for several long minutes. Then it moved on. Eloise waited another hour before relaxing her grip on the knife. Whatever that presence had been, it had known she was there. It had chosen not to act. That was worse than being hunted. Being hunted she could understand. Being watched meant someone had plans for her. She did not sleep that night. Chapter 4. Dawn came cold and gray. Eloise crawled out from beneath the bushes and stretched her stiff legs. Her body ached from the uncomfortable position, but she was alive. That counted for something. She ate the last of her bread and one strip of dried meat. Benjamin's gift was almost gone. She would need to hunt soon or find a town. The forest felt different in daylight. The oppressive weight of being watched had lifted. Birds sang in the branches. Sunlight filtered through the leaves in golden patches. Eloise followed a stream eastward, guessing that water would eventually lead to settlements. The stream widened as she walked, becoming a small river, perhaps 10 feet across. The banks were muddy and marked with animal tracks. She was crouched beside the water, refilling her flask, when she heard footsteps behind her. She spun around, knife already in her hand. A man stood at the edge of the trees. He was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with dark hair and pale skin. He wore black clothing that looked expensive, well-tailored, nothing like the rough travel gear most people wore in the wilderness. His eyes were gray, the color of winter storms. He did not smile. He did not threaten. He simply looked at her with the calm certainty of someone who already knew exactly how this conversation would end. "Eloise Rutland," he said. His voice was deep and carried easily across the distance. "Daughter of Margaret Rutland. Cast out by Reese Wither 3 days ago for failing to shift." Eloise's grip tightened on the knife. "Who are you?" "My name is Adam Crowder," the man said. "I rule the Crimson Dominion, territories that existed before the Pax carved up these lands and claimed ownership. I have never heard of the Crimson Dominion." "Most have not," Adam said. "That is intentional. We do not advertise our presence to those who lack the capacity to understand what we are." He stepped forward slowly. Eloise raised the knife. "Stay back." Adam stopped. "You have no reason to trust me. I understand, but I am not your enemy." "Then what do you want? To tell you the truth?" Adam said. "A truth your pack either did not know or chose to hide. You are not wolfless, Eloise. You are incomplete." Eloise's heart hammered in her chest. "What does that mean?" "It means your bloodline is not wolf," Adam said. "It is dual. Wolf, and something far older. Your mother's line carried the wolf. Your father's line carried the other half. The two were never meant to mix, but they did. The result is you. My mother never told me who my father was, because she was protecting you," Adam said. "Your bloodline was sealed at birth by forces neither she nor your pack could control. The seal prevented your transformation to keep you safe. But seals do not last forever." Eloise lowered the knife slightly. "What forces? What are you talking about?" Adam moved closer. He stopped 5 feet away, close enough that she could see the silver threads in his gray eyes, patterns that shifted like smoke. "Your father was crimson," Adam said. "One of my kind. We are not wolves. We are older. We existed before Pax claimed dominion over these lands. Your mother was a wolf. She mated with your father against Pack law. The Union created you, a hybrid that should not exist. If I am a hybrid, why have I never shifted?" "Because the seal holds your power in check," Adam said. "It will not hold much longer. Your blood is already beginning to wake. That is why your wounds heal faster than they should. That is why you smell different to those who know what to look for." Eloise's mind spun. This was impossible. Her mother had never mentioned anything like this. But her mother had also kept secrets, and had warned her to stay quiet, to avoid attention. "Why are you telling me this?" Eloise asked. "Because when the seal breaks, your power will manifest all at once," Adam said. "Without guidance, without control, it will destroy you. I am offering you a choice. Come with me to the Crimson Dominion. Learn what you are, master your bloodline, or stay here and die when the seal breaks." "Why would you help me?" Adam's expression did not change. "Because you belong to my world, not theirs. The pack that cast you out will regret their decision, but only if you survive long enough to make them regret it." Eloise stared at him. Every instinct told her to run, but running has accomplished nothing so far. She was alone, hunted, with no food and no shelter. This man, Adam Crowder, was offering her answers. He was offering her survival. "If I go with you," Eloise said slowly, "what happens to me?" "You train," Adam said. "You learn control. And when you are ready, you claim what is yours by blood and right. And if I refuse, then I leave," Adam said. "And you face the breaking alone." Eloise looked down at her hands. The cuts from yesterday are gone completely now. Her blood carried heat and power she did not understand. She looked back at Adam. How do I know you are telling the truth? Adam held out his hand. Take my hand, and you will know. Eloise hesitated. Then she stepped forward and placed her hand in his. Power surged through her like lightning. Not painful, not overwhelming, just present, undeniable, flowing from his skin into hers. Her vision sharpened. The forest around them became clearer, more vivid. She could smell the minerals in the river, the sap in the trees, the leather of Adam's boots, and beneath it all, she felt something inside herself respond. Something that had been sleeping, something that recognized him. She pulled her hand back. The sensations faded but did not disappear entirely. What was that? She whispered. Recognition, Adam said. Your blood knows mine, just as mine knows yours. Eloise took a shaky breath. She looked at the forest around her, at the empty path stretching ahead. She thought of the cold nights, the dwindling food, the constant fear of rogues and predators. She thought of Reese Wither's face when he rejected her, the silence of the pack as they let her leave. If I come with you, Eloise said, I want to learn everything. I want to know what I am and what I can become. No more secrets. Adam inclined his head slightly. Agreed. Eloise picked up her sack. She sheathed her knife and looked at Adam. Then I will go with you. Adam turned and began walking east, away from the river. Eloise followed. With each step, the weight on her chest grew lighter. She did not know what waited for her in the Crimson Dominion, but anything was better than dying alone in the woods. Chapter 5. The Crimson Dominion revealed itself slowly over the next 2 days of travel. Adam led Eloise through forests that grew darker and older, through valleys where mist clung to the ground even at midday, through stone passages carved into hillsides by hands far older than any pack. They spoke little during the journey. Adam answered her questions with direct facts. The Crimson Dominion covered roughly 200 square miles of territory in the eastern mountains. It housed perhaps 300 individuals, all of them crimson-blooded or sworn to the bloodline. They did not follow pack law. They answered to no council. Adam ruled alone. On the evening of the second day, they reached a fortress built into the mountainside itself. The structure was massive, carved from dark stone that seemed to drink in the fading sunlight. Torches burned along the walls. Guards stood watch at the gates, their faces pale and their eyes sharp. Adam led Eloise through the main gate and into a courtyard paved with slate. Servants moved efficiently through the space, carrying supplies, tending to horses, and maintaining weapons. They all stopped and bowed when Adam passed. This is Redmore Keep, Adam said. It has stood for 800 years. You will stay here while you train. Eloise followed him inside. The interior was warmer than she expected, heated by massive fireplaces and warmed by thick tapestries that lined the stone walls. The halls were wide and tall, built to accommodate people who moved with more than human speed. Adam brought her to a chamber on the 3rd floor. The room was large, perhaps 20 feet across, with a proper bed, a wardrobe, a writing desk, and a window that overlooked the valley below. This is yours, Adam said. Food will be brought at sunset and dawn. Clean clothing is in the wardrobe. Rest tonight. We begin tomorrow. He turned to leave. Wait, Eloise said. You said I needed guidance. What exactly are you going to teach me? Adam looked back at her. Control. Your bloodline will wake violently when the seal breaks. Without control, you will hurt yourself and everyone around you. I will teach you to master the power before it masters you. How long will that take? That depends on you, Adam said. Some learn in weeks, others take years. You will learn as quickly as your will allows. He left without another word. Eloise stood alone in the chamber. She walked to the window and looked out at the valley. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks white with early snow. The sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. She touched her shoulder blade, where the brand had burned away her pack mark. The skin was smooth now, healed completely. Soon she would carry a different mark, a different identity. She was not sure how she felt about that. Dinner arrived an hour after sunset. A young woman named Lacey Camden brought a tray with roasted meat, bread, cheese, and ale. Lacey was perhaps 17, with light hair and quick movements. She set the tray on the desk and bowed slightly before leaving. Eloise ate slowly. The food was better than anything she had eaten in months. The meat was tender, seasoned with herbs she did not recognize. The bread was fresh. The cheese was sharp and rich. She slept deeply that night, the first real sleep she had managed since the rejection. Morning came with a knock on the door. Adam entered without waiting for permission. He wore dark training leathers and carried a second set which he dropped on the bed. "Get dressed," he said. "We start now." Eloise changed quickly into the training leathers. They fit well, clearly made for someone of her size and build. Adam led her through the keep and down into a lower level she had not seen the night before. They entered a large training hall, perhaps 50 feet across, with stone floors and walls lined with practice weapons. "Stand in the center," Adam said. Eloise obeyed. Adam walked a slow circle around her, his eyes assessing. "Your seal is weakening," he said. "I can see the cracks forming in your aura. The breaking will come within days, perhaps hours. When it does, you will feel pain. You will feel heat. Your body will try to change, and your mind will resist. If you fight the change, you will tear yourself apart." "Then what do I do?" Eloise asked. "You accept it," Adam said. "You let the power rise without fear. You guide it instead of resisting it." "How?" Adam stopped in front of her. He was close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "You trust me," he said quietly. "You let me anchor you while the seal breaks. The bond between us will stabilize the transformation. Without it, the pain will be unbearable." Eloise's breath caught. "What kind of bond?" "A claim," Adam said. "Physical and permanent. It will link your bloodline to mine. You will feel what I feel. I will feel what you feel. The connection will give you the stability you need to survive the breaking." Eloise stepped back slightly. "You are asking me to bind myself to you." "Yes. Why would I agree to that?" Adam held her gaze. "Because without it, you will die. The seal is breaking whether you want it to or not. The only question is whether you survive the process." Eloise's hands clenched into fists. She had just escaped one bond, one pack that had used her and discarded her. Now she was being asked to enter another, but this was different. Adam was not asking her to submit. He was offering her power. He was offering her survival. "If I agree," Eloise said slowly, "does this bond give you control over me?" "No," Adam said. "The bond shares strength. It does not command. You remain yourself. But we will be connected in ways that cannot be undone." Eloise closed her eyes. She thought of the ravine, the way her blood had smelled wrong. She thought of the shadow in the forest, watching her. She thought of Reese Withers' face as he rejected her. She opened her eyes. "Do it," she said. Adam moved forward slowly. He reached out and placed one hand against the side of her neck. His palm was warm. His touch was firm but not forceful. "This will hurt," he said. "But the pain will pass." Eloise nodded. Adam's other hand moved to the small of her back. He pulled her closer, until their bodies were nearly touching. She could feel his breath against her forehead. "Breathe," Adam said quietly. "Stay with me." He leaned down and pressed his mouth to the curve where her neck met her shoulder. Pain flared hot and immediate, not from his mouth, but from deep inside her chest. The seal shattered. Power surged through her like a flood breaking through a dam. Heat roared up her spine and spread through her limbs. Her vision went white. She heard herself gasp, but the sound seemed distant. Adam's grip tightened. His strength held her upright when her legs threatened to give out. "Stay with me," he said again. His voice cut through the pain, steady and certain. "Let it rise. Do not fight it." Eloise forced herself to breathe. The power burned, but she did not resist. She let it fill her, let it reshape something fundamental inside her chest. And then she felt him. Not just his hands holding her steady, not just his voice in her ear. She felt his presence inside her mind, solid and unshakable. The bond formed like a rope, being woven strand by strand, connecting them in ways she had no words to describe. The pain began to fade. The heat settled into something manageable. Her vision cleared. She was still standing in the training hall. Adam still held her, but everything felt different, sharper, stronger. She pulled back slightly and looked up at him. His gray eyes watched her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "It is done," Adam said quietly. Eloise felt the bond humming between them like a live wire. She could sense his calm certainty, his controlled power, his absolute confidence in what they had just done. And beneath that, she felt something else. Something warmer. something that made her stomach tighten and her skin flush. Desire, not forced, not commanded, just present, undeniable, flowing both ways through the bond. Adam's thumb brushed the side of her neck where he had marked her. The touch sent sparks down her spine. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Different," Eloise said. Her voice came out rough. "Stronger. Good," Adam said. He stepped back slowly, giving her space. "The transformation will continue over the next few days. Your body will change gradually. You will grow faster, heal quicker, sense more. The bond will help you manage it." Eloise touched her neck where he had marked her. The skin was warm but not painful. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you learn to use what you have become," Adam said. "And when you are ready, we deal with the pack that cast you out. Pause here with me for a moment. This is the turning point. The bond is sealed. The future is set. From here on, Eloise is no longer surviving. She is becoming something new. If you're feeling the shift in power, the control, the quiet danger of what she's growing into, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Blood Empire. Tap the like button to support stories where the rejected rise through discipline and strength, and leave a comment if you're ready to see how far she can go. Now, Act 5 begins, and the real transformation starts. Chapter 6. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of training, pain, and gradual transformation. Eloise woke each morning to find her body slightly different. Her muscles grew denser, her reflexes sharpened. Her senses expanded until she could hear conversations, 3 rooms away, and smell the difference between truth and lies. Adam trained her without mercy. He pushed her until her legs shook and her lungs burned. He taught her to fight with fists, knives, and improvised weapons. He taught her to move silently through forests and stone halls alike. He taught her to read the subtle shifts in body language that revealed intention before action. But more than physical training, he taught her history. They sat in his private study on the 7th day after the claim. The room was lined with books and scrolls, records that predated pack history by centuries. Adam pulled out a thick, leather-bound volume and opened it to a hand-drawn map. The Crimson bloodline ruled these territories for 3,000 years before the first packs formed, Adam said. He traced a line across the map showing lands that stretched from the eastern mountains to the western coast. "We were not wolves. We were something else. Older. Stronger in some ways. More vulnerable in others." Eloise leaned forward to study the map. "What happened?" "Humans began to change," Adam said. "Some developed the ability to shift into wolves. They bred faster than we did. They organized into packs. They claimed territory and resources. Over time, they pushed us back into smaller and smaller holdings. Eventually, we became a legend they no longer believed in. Why did you not fight back?" "We did," Adam said quietly, "for centuries. But we lacked numbers. We lacked the pack bonds that made wolves strong together. We were powerful as individuals, but isolated. They overwhelmed us through sheer force of population." He closed the book and looked at her. "Your bloodline represents a bridge between those 2 worlds," Adam said. "Wolf and crimson, pack and sovereignty. If you master both sides, you will be stronger than either one." Eloise absorbed this information slowly. "Is that why you claimed me? To create a weapon?" "No," Adam said. "I claimed you because leaving you to die would have been a waste. What you become is your choice. But I will not pretend the political implications are irrelevant." He stood and moved to the window. "The packs grew arrogant in our absence. They believe themselves the apex predators of this world. They need to be reminded that older powers still exist." Eloise watched him carefully. "You want to use me to challenge the packs?" "I want you to survive," Adam said. "If your survival happens to shake the foundations of pack dominance, I will not complain." Over the following weeks, Eloise's power continued to grow. Her hybrid nature manifested in ways that surprised even Adam. She healed faster than wolves, but maintained human precision. She grew stronger than most pack warriors, but retained the speed of crimson blood. She could track scents like a wolf, but also sense emotional shifts the way crimson individuals did. But the most significant change was internal. The bond with Adam deepened with each passing day. She felt him constantly now, a steady presence at the back of her mind. She knew when he was pleased with her progress. She knew when he was frustrated by political matters in other parts of his territory. She knew when he watched her during training with an intensity that had nothing to do with assessing her technique. and he knew her just as well. One evening, after a particularly brutal training session, Eloise returned to her chamber to find Adam waiting inside. "You are holding back," he said without preamble. Eloise stripped off her training leathers and reached for a clean shirt. She had grown less self-conscious about changing in front of him over the past month. The bond made modesty feel pointless. "I am training as hard as I can," she said. "No," Adam said. "You are training as hard as you think is safe. There is a difference." Eloise pulled the shirt over her head and turned to face him. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stop being afraid of your own strength," Adam said. He stood and crossed the room until he was directly in front of her. "You are still thinking like a pack wolf. You are still trying to fit yourself into their limitations. You are not one of them anymore." "I know that." "Then prove it," Adam said. His hand came up to cup her jaw. The touch was firm, possessive. "Stop holding yourself back. Stop questioning whether you deserve the power you carry. You do. You earned it by surviving what should have killed you." Eloise's breath caught. The bond between them flared hot, carrying desire and challenge in equal measure. "I am not afraid," she said. "Then show me," Adam said quietly. The challenge hung between them. Eloise felt her pulse quicken. The bond hummed with shared heat. She reached up and pulled his hand away from her face, but she did not let go. Instead, she stepped closer, closing the distance between them until their bodies nearly touched. "You want me to stop holding back?" she said. "Fine." She kissed him. The bond exploded between them like a struck match. Heat surged through her entire body. She felt his surprise, then his immediate response. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her hard against him. She tangled her fingers in his hair and kissed him harder. There was no gentleness in it, no hesitation, just raw want and the bone-deep certainty that this was right. This was what the bond had been building toward since the moment he claimed her. Adam's mouth moved to her throat. She tilted her head back, giving him access. His teeth grazed her pulse point and she gasped. The sensation shot straight down her spine and pooled low in her belly. "Eloise," Adam said against her skin. His voice was rough. "If we do this, there is no going back." "I do not want to go back," Eloise said. She pulled his mouth back to hers. "I want this." Adam lifted her easily and carried her to the bed. He set her down and covered her body with his own. The weight of him felt perfect, grounding, exactly what she needed. They moved together with the same intensity they brought to combat training. No hesitation, no uncertainty, just bodies and breath, and the bond between them growing stronger with every touch. Afterwards, they lay tangled together in the sheets. Eloise's head rested on Adam's chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong. The bond between them felt settled now, complete in a way it had not been before. "Your pack will hear about this eventually," Adam said quietly. His fingers traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "When they do, they will panic." "Good," Eloise said. "Let them panic." Adam's chest rumbled with quiet laughter. "You have changed. You told me to stop holding back, so I did." Eloise lifted her head to look at him. "Do you regret the claim?" "No," Adam said. He met her gaze directly. "Do you?" "No," Eloise said. She meant it. The girl who had stood silent and ashamed in the Wither Pack's great hall was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone dangerous, someone who would make the pack that rejected her very, very sorry. Chapter 7. News traveled slowly in the territories, but it traveled inevitably. 3 months after Eloise's exile, rumors began to reach Ashford Keep. Traders spoke of a new power rising in the eastern mountains. Messengers reported increased crimson activity along borders that had been quiet for decades. Scouts returned with stories of a woman who moved through the forests with strength that rivaled alpha wolves. Rhys Wither ignored the rumors at first. He had more immediate concerns. Border disputes with neighboring packs. Internal challenges to his authority. The usual political pressures that came with ruling a territory of 800 wolves, but the rumors persisted. On a cold morning in late autumn, a messenger arrived at Ashford Keep requesting an audience with the Alpha King. The messenger wore crimson colors, dark red and black, and carried papers sealed with a mark Rhys had not seen in his lifetime. Rhys received the messenger in his private council chamber, along with Harvey Camden, his most trusted advisor. The messenger was a woman named Alexandra Lester, perhaps 30 years old, with the pale skin and sharp eyes common among crimson bloodlines. Alpha King Rhys Wither, Alexandra said. She did not bow. I bring greetings from Adam Crowder, Sovereign of the Crimson Dominion. Rhys gestured for her to continue. The Crimson Dominion has not communicated with Pact territories in over a century. Why now? Alexandra handed him a sealed letter. The Sovereign wishes to inform you of recent developments that concern your Pact directly. Rhys broke the seal and read the letter. His expression remained neutral, but Harvey saw his jaw tighten. The letter was brief and formal. It announced the official claiming of a Crimson consort, a hybrid of wolf and crimson blood, who had been raised within Witherpack lands. It requested acknowledgement of the bond and recognition of the consort's new status. The letter did not include a name. It did not need to. Rhys set the letter down carefully. Eloise Rutland. Yes, Alexandra said. The Sovereign's consort was formerly of your pack. She was exiled 3 months ago for failing to manifest her wolf. I understand the situation has since changed. Rhys exchanged a glance with Harvey. The older man's face had gone pale. Eloise Rutland had no wolf, Rhys said carefully. That is why she was exiled. Pack law does not permit wolfless individuals to remain within protected lands. She was not wolfless, Alexandra said. She was a hybrid. Her bloodline was sealed at birth to protect her from those who would have killed her for what she represented. The Sovereign broke the seal and claimed her. She is now fully manifested and recognized as Crimson Consort. The implications crashed down on Rhys like a physical weight. If Eloise had been hybrid all along, the pack had exiled one of the most powerful bloodlines in existence. They had humiliated her publicly. They had stripped her of protection and cast her out to die. And now she was bound to the Crimson Sovereign, a ruler whose power and resources dwarfed anything the Witherpack could muster. What does the Sovereign want? Rhys asked. Acknowledgement, Alexandra said. Recognition of the consort's status, and assurance that the Witherpack will not interfere with Crimson affairs going forward. That is all? For now, Alexandra said. Rhys stared at the letter. He had ruled the Witherpack for 8 years. He had made difficult decisions. He had exiled rogues, executed traitors, and enforced laws that kept the pack strong. But this decision might be the one that destroyed everything. Tell the Sovereign his message is received, Rhys said finally. The Witherpack acknowledges the claim and wishes the consort well. Alexandra inclined her head slightly. The Sovereign will be pleased. She left without another word. Rhys and Harvey sat in silence after she departed. We made a mistake, Harvey said quietly. Yes, Rhys said. What do we do? Rhys stood and walked to the window. Outside, the courtyard was busy with daily activity. Wolves trained, children played. Life continued as it always had, but everything had changed. We wait, Rhys said. And we hope Eloise Rutland is more merciful than we were. News of the Crimson Consort spread through the pack like wildfire. Within days, everyone knew that the wolfless girl they had cast out was not wolfless at all. She was a hybrid. She was powerful. She was claimed by the Crimson Sovereign himself. Reactions varied. Some wolves felt shame. Others felt fear. A few felt anger at having been deceived. Molly Graham sought out Kian Prescott in the training yard one afternoon. She had not slept well since hearing the news. Did you know? She asked. When you burned her mark, did you know what she was? Kian shook his head. No one knew. Her mother kept it hidden. The seal was perfect. We should have protected her, Molly said. She was packed. Even if she seemed wolfless, she was still one of us. Pack law is clear, Kian said. But his voice lacked conviction. Pack law is not always right, Molly said. She walked away before Kian could respond. In the Great Hall, the council met to discuss their options. The debate lasted 3 hours. Some argued for sending an apology. Others insisted any gesture of weakness would be political suicide. A few suggested offering reparations, though no one could agree what form those should take. In the end, Rhys decided to send an envoy to the Crimson Dominion. Not to apologize, exactly, but to acknowledge the situation and attempt to open diplomatic channels. The envoy would leave in 1 week. It was already too late. Chapter 8. Eloise returned to Ashford Keep on a cold morning in early winter. She did not come alone. Adam rode beside her on a black horse. Behind them came 20 Crimson Guards, armed and armored, a show of force that could not be mistaken for anything but a statement. They approached the keep gates slowly. The guards on the wall spotted them from a distance and sent runners to alert the Alpha King. By the time Eloise reached the courtyard, Reese Withers stood waiting with his full council and half the pack assembled behind them. Eloise dismounted smoothly. She wore dark red and black, crimson colors, and a cloak lined with fur. Her hair was pulled back from her face. Her eyes were steady and cold. She looked nothing like the frightened girl who had left 3 months ago. Reese stepped forward. His face was carefully neutral. "Eloise Rutland," he said. "You are welcome in Ashford Keep." "Am I?" Eloise said. Her voice carried across the courtyard without effort. 3 months ago, I was cast out, rejected, stripped of my mark and told never to return. What changed? Reese held her gaze. "We did not know what you were. You did not care what I was," Eloise said. "I was an embarrassment, a failure, so you discarded me." Murmurs rippled through the assembled pack. Some wolves shifted uncomfortably. Others watched with guarded expressions. Adam dismounted and moved to stand beside Eloise. He did not speak. He did not need to. His presence alone communicated power and threat in equal measure. "We made a mistake," Reese said carefully. "If we had known about your bloodline, we would have protected you." "Would you?" Eloise asked. She took a step forward. "Or would you have killed me? Hybrids are forbidden by pack law. My mother hid what I was because she knew exactly what this pack would do if they discovered the truth." Reese had no answer for that. Eloise looked past him at the council members standing behind him. She recognized every face. Harvey Camden, who had sat silent during her rejection. Kian Prescott, who had branded her without hesitation. The others who had judged her and found her wanting. Her gaze moved to the crowd. She saw Molly Graham standing near the back. She saw Demi Stevens, who had laughed when Eloise walked out. She saw Benjamin Lee, the only person who had shown her any kindness. "I did not come here for an apology," Eloise said. "I came to make something clear. I am no longer subject to Witherpack law. I am Crimson Consort, claimed and recognized by powers older than your pack. I owe you nothing. I want nothing from you. But I will not forget what you did." She turned to leave. "Wait," Reese said. "Please." Eloise stopped but did not turn around. "I cannot undo what was done," Reese said. "But I can offer you a place here if you want it. Full pack rights, protection, recognition." Eloise looked back over her shoulder. "You think I want to return to the pack that humiliated me?" "No," Reese said quietly. "I think you deserve better than what we gave you, and I think we deserve a chance to make it right." For a long moment, Eloise said nothing. She felt Adam's presence through the bond, steady and supportive. The choice was hers. "You want to make it right?" Eloise said finally. "Then remember this day. Remember what it cost you to reject someone without understanding what they were. And the next time someone struggles to shift, show them kindness instead of judgment." She mounted her horse and rode out of the courtyard without looking back. Adam followed. The Crimson Guards fell in behind them. The assembled pack watched in silence as they disappeared through the gates. Chapter 9. Eloise did not return to the Witherpack lands after that day. She had made her point. The pack knew what they had lost. They knew what they had become. That was enough. She and Adam focused on building their shared future. The Crimson Dominion grew stronger under their combined leadership. Pack wolves began to hear stories of the hybrid consort who had survived rejection and emerged more powerful than any alpha. Some packs sent diplomats seeking alliances. Others kept their distance, wary of powers they did not understand. The Wither Pack fell from prominence gradually. Reese held his position, but his authority was diminished. Other packs questioned his judgment. Internal challenges became more frequent. The pack that had once been strong and unified began to fracture. Eloise heard these reports but felt no satisfaction. Revenge had never been her goal. Survival had been the only thing that mattered. She had survived. She had grown stronger. She had claimed a place in a world that tried to destroy her. On a spring evening, 6 months after her return to Ashford Keep, Eloise stood on the balcony of Redmore Keep and watched the sun set over the mountains. Adam joined her, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Do you regret any of it?" he asked. Eloise leaned into him. "No. Not even leaving the pack? Especially not that," Eloise said. "They gave me nothing but shame and rejection. You gave me truth and power. There is no comparison." Adam pressed a kiss to her temple. "You gave yourself power. I just helped you find it." Eloise smiled. That was true. She had done the work. She had fought through the pain of transformation. She had mastered her hybrid nature through discipline and will. She was not the frightened girl who had stood silent in the Great Hall while an Alpha King rejected her. She was Eloise Rutland, Crimson Consort, hybrid sovereign of bloodlines older than Pax. She was exactly who she was meant to be, and the world would remember her name. Thank you for staying with Eloise until the very end. Stories like this are made for those who understand what it means to be underestimated, cast aside, and still rise with control and purpose. If this journey meant something to you, subscribe to Cold Blood Empire. Like this video so more people can find stories where power is earned, not given. And leave a comment telling me which part of Eloise's transformation stayed with you the most. More dark werewolf stories are coming, and this empire is only just beginning.